What else? What else? A-F-I-C. Come on, come on, come on. A-F-I-C. Just let's go. So let's dance now. It is my turn. Just won't work you out. I am ready for your action. Just won't work you out. You should cut off all distraction. It's all on you now. And just give me some.
It's another beautiful Sunday afternoon. This is Rubbin Minds. Welcome. My name is Ebuka Obiuchi, and it's great to be back here with you once again. We're going to be looking at the week that was, looking at all the headlines that's caught our attention in the past week. I always say this every week. A week in Nigeria is like a lifetime everywhere else. So much has happened in the past week, from the judiciary being on trial, to Chibok girls, of course, being in the news heavily. There's a lot of allegations of bribery, and kidnapping is back in the news, and it looks like it might be getting even worse as the Christmas approaches, which is usually when we hear a lot of this sort of stories. So we're going to be looking at all of these issues as we kick off the show today with a lawyer here, Farouk Abbas, who's going to be helping me dissect all of this. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm trying to see where we should start. Let's start with the Chibok girls now, because they've been in the news for about 2 weeks now, mostly for good reasons. We did hear that 21 girls were released, with negotiations from the Swiss government, I think, and the Red Cross, and they've been reunited with their families. We saw a reception held for them at the presidency I think about 3 days ago, with President Buhari in attendance. Their parents came. Lots of very joyful-looking pictures, with parents uniting with their girls. But it's weird that there's still a lot of controversy around the fact that these girls were not kidnapped at all. We did hear from Governor Fayose saying that he doesn't believe that any girls were kidnapped. Is it weird that this is still an issue over 2 years after this incident happened?
I don't think it's weird that this is still an issue, because even though the girls, some of the girls have been released, we've had some people say that they are not sure if those girls were part of the Chibok girls who were kidnapped, and some people were saying that if these students were supposed to be preparing for their WAEC and some of them could not speak English. I mean, in Nigeria, we're not aware of any school who teaches or where they write WAEC in traditional language and all of that, so it raises some sort of suspicion. So, I mean, it's not unusual and it's not weird that people are, because when I saw the list and I felt that, okay, they released 21 lists, the first thing I did was, okay, I was thinking somebody was going to give us the original list, and so that we could cross-reference it to know which of them were released and who is who and all that. But, that's never happened. I didn't see anybody cross-referencing to say that, okay, this is one of the girls and all of that, and the pictures are not readily available to everyone, so it's not unusual that, and again, the number that was released, 218 were kidnapped, or 219, and 21 were released. So assuming they were released in one full piece, it will be easy for us to say, okay, this is the exact number of people that were kidnapped, and this is the exact number of people that were released. So we can easily say, and when they can't speak English and they were all looking like they're not even literate, or they don't even go to school and all that, it raises some sort of...
But all of these conspiracy theories now, and I wonder, to whose benefit would these have been in the first place? I mean, lying about a kidnapping, for one. Why would anybody want to do that for this long? And who does it pay in the long run? Why would anybody want to do that?
We need to look at all these issues holistically. When the issue of Chibok girls arose, President Jonathan was the one in government, and at the time, the opposition were looking for every mistake, every issue to pin on him. So at the time, if someone had said that, okay, there was a kidnap and there was no kidnapping, at the time it will have favored the opposition government, and knowing Nigeria, because we don't have data readily available. I mean, in other countries, we should be able to check the internet and know that, okay, how many students are writing WAEC in this school? How many of them are around? How many people are writing these courses? We should be able to have all those data. But when we don't have all those data, you give rooms for speculation and all of that. So, to your question on who would the false news benefit, I think at the time it will have benefited the opposition, because if you recall, the election was postponed at some point, and one of the reasons given was because of the Northeast and kidnappings and all of that, So if there was turmoil in the country at the time, it would have benefited the opposition, because then Nigerians were not looking at all these issues as Nigerians. We're looking at it as either a member of PDP or member of APC. So when you see any mistake in government, the first thing you say, oh, this government is clueless, this government is clueless. And again, during the campaigns, President Buhari told us that once he comes into government, he was going to go after them, was going to ensure that they were released. He relocated the headquarters of the military command to the Northeast and all of that. So Nigerians expected that within 5 months, within 6 months, we will see results with respect of the girls that were kidnapped. But when you wait for over a year to release the girls and for us to get news, it might look like, okay, maybe you feel that Nigerians are disappointed, so you just want to give them something to hold on to or to be happy
But he didn't
about.
negotiate the release of this girl.
No, but they couldn't have negotiated it without his consent, because I think the reason why the federal government will not have...
But we hear it was the Swiss government, and I think the Red Cross. I'm not saying Nigerian government might not have been involved completely, but why would the Swiss government, for example, compromise themselves in what is a fake release?
I don't see it as a compromise, because, from my understanding of this issue, because this is not the first time the government was trying to negotiate with kidnappers, and I feel that there's an issue of trust, even with the Niger Delta Avengers. There's an issue of trust in terms of terrorists negotiating with government. So I believe that they might have been the ones who have suggested, okay, we want a neutral party, we want a government that we can trust, a reputable, independent party. So it's possible that the Swiss government and the Red Cross might have been acceptable to the kidnappers. So that's the reason why they will have.
So when people are coming up with all of these stories about this all still being a hoax, even 2 years later, I mean, those images we saw with parents dancing and in tears, being united with their kids, are those actors? How does that happen?
Personally, I don't believe it's a hoax, because I was also moved by the pictures. I think it was in This Day yesterday, and I can imagine you losing your child for about a year or two, so I'm not saying it's a hoax, but what I'm just trying to say is that anybody who says it's a hoax is not something we can just push aside, because we need to look at issues objectively and consider them. And in Nigeria we have this issue of communication. Once incidents happen, they don't give us the full facts. So withholding facts gives room for speculations and all sorts of theories and all of that. So looking at them, Nigeria, a lot of things that happened in the past that you never can tell. So although I was moved by the video, I don't think it's a hoax, but I wouldn't at the same time push aside those who say they feel it's a hoax.
So who's the onus on now? Because I don't want to believe it's the children who are going to be coming to prove that they were kidnapped in any way. They are happy to be out. Is it the media that should probably do this investigation, or is it government that should let us know every step of the way what's happening? I
think the onus lies on three bodies, and the first is the government, the second is the media, and the third is the Bring Back Our Girls campaign, because Bring Back Our Girls group, they've been at the forefront of this issue.
And they have said that these are Chibok girls.
Yeah, so if they've confirmed, but they still also give us empirical evidence to support that, by telling us that, okay, this was the list we released initially, these are the pictures on the list we released. Number 217 is the girl, is this one. Number 218 is this. There's need for there to be cross-referencing, and there need to be ID, because in Nigeria of today you can just bring anybody. If you are a YX student, then you must have some sort of ID cards, to cross-reference. So I'd expect that the media too will also carry out some investigative journalism to get to the root of this matter. And one thing we should not lose focus of is that after the Chibok girls were kidnapped, other set of girls have also been kidnapped. So it might have been some girls that were kidnapped from any other state in the northeast. So we need to see evidence. We are not saying that the government has not tried, but you need to convince us. And it's not something to be celebrating, because out of 218, if you've just seen 21 now, there's still a long way to go. And if it took the government almost 16 or 17 months to achieve these little results, it shows that there should be no dancing and celebration. We should focus on getting the outstanding number of girls back to their parents. And we want to also see these children, are they going to write WAEC? When are they going to write their WAEC? Because if someone can't speak English, how does that person want to write WAEC? How does she pass in a secondary school? Those are issues that need to be considered. Can they fill WAEC forms? And they should be given access to the media. Let them tell us their experience. Somebody should even write a book about it. Where we keep on shielding them and you prevent people from having access to them, it shows that you're hiding something.
Well, they're underage, so they can actually decide not to speak with the media. Even if they're adults, they can decide not to speak with the media. But yes. I do see your points. Well, we are definitely happy that 21 of them have come out. It's definitely good news, regardless of how you want to look at it. And like the government has promised, many more are going to be coming out very soon, and we hope that sooner rather than later we're going to be coming to the end of what has been an unbelievably sad episode in our history. But let's move on now to the judiciary now, which has almost every week continues to shock Nigerians, with the arrest of judges, and then the chief judge talking about a sting operation assault on the independence of judiciary. There's just been so much happening. We're not even sure how to keep up with this. Now, what's your take on all of this so far?
Well, first of all, it's a very unfortunate incident. It's very saddening. When I heard the news, I was totally surprised, And my take on the issue is that there are different views to it. You look at it legally speaking, and you look at it from the society's point of view. And when I say looking at it from the society's point of view, what I mean is looking at it in a way whereby you fight corruption, at the same time you preserve the institutions. like every other profession, the judiciary is also has some bad eggs, and it's in the interest of all the stakeholders in Nigeria for the judiciary to be wind of corrupt individuals. So first things first is that both the judges, the lawyers, litigants, and members of society want the judiciary to be cleansed. So we are all on the same page with the president of Nigeria that the corruption must be fought heads on. But in fighting corruption, there must be a process. There must be procedures. Of course, everyone knows that judges don't have immunity, but when you go and break down somebody's door in the middle of the night, some of those judges, I'm sure they will be hypertensive. And somebody coming to break down your doors, they could have slumped, So I think the issue is we should fight corruption, but the procedure in which they went about it was not right. I'm aware that the DSS wrote a letter or a petition to the NJC in respect of Justice Pindiga and Justice Dingba. And when they wrote the petition against Justice Pindiga, the NJC investigated the petition, the DSS was present there, and the NJC found that the petition was unmeritorious and it was dismissed. And when the DSS wrote a petition against Justice Dingba, the NJC acknowledged it, and the NJC is currently investigating it. So if the NJC is currently investigating the petition against Justice Dingba, why should DSS go ahead and search his house in the middle of the night?
People have said that why be a judge in your own court? I mean, the NJC is the judiciary anyways.
Yes.
So the executive also is the arm of government that's supposed to enforce the law. Yes. Doesn't that count for anything?
Well, yes, there's separation of power, that counts, But at the same time, there's a procedure. I'm not saying judges cannot be arrested, but the issue is if you have facts against these judges, you could have written to NJC to notify NJC, and they should invite them to you. Because even police, when they want to arrest you, they don't just come to your house to arrest you. They invite you first of all. When they invite you and you don't honor their invitation, that's when they will arrest you. Justice Auta of the Kano State Judiciary was arrested last year by the police. The police wrote a letter to the CJ of Kano State, and he was arrested. So if they've arrested somebody, a judge in the past, and it didn't make headline, because the issue is when you sensationalize all these things, it demeans the reputation of the judiciary, because a lot of people don't lose their respect for the judiciary. So we're not saying you shouldn't fight corruption, but let's fight it in a tactical manner. Let's stop all this grandstanding. This government likes grandstanding. They like news, headline, all those news bites are making noise. You can fight corruption effectively without necessarily making it a drama. So we're not saying you shouldn't fight corruption, but fight it in a very, very smooth and good way that will not bring down the system.
So a lot of people have said, we did see pictures and we did hear from the DSS about amounts of money, cash, recovered from all of this, the homes of some of these judges who were arrested in the middle of the night and taken to Abuja at the time. And people have said, well, yeah, maybe, we're in Nigeria, we know how we do these things. After all, if they didn't go in that way, would we have known that they had this money with them? Is it not possible that maybe this evidence that we have now might never have been known if things were not done this way?
Some people were saying that DSS does not have the power to carry out what they did. And I tend to disagree because, DSS is a more sophisticated arm of the security, and they deal with intelligence. So DSS does not need to go somewhere forcefully to be able to recover evidence or get evidence. They are supposedly meant to deal with intelligence. So as an intelligence officer, you should be able to keep track. If you're investigating someone, you should be able to keep tracks on him. If you see any car moving out of his house, check it, in a very, very discreet manner. You don't have to go and break down somebody's door. The cash will be moved somewhere. So you can follow the trail, you can follow the money. So I don't believe that you needed to have gone to break down a door at 2 a.m. before you could you can retrieve evidence. No, you don't have to do that. You gather your intelligence, and with your intelligence you can know what's happening. These people communicate, they have access to their telephone logs, they have access to cameras, hidden cameras and all of that. You can monitor them, monitor who they talk to, monitor where they go, monitor their cars and all of that. So you don't have to know. They can make attempts to hide evidence. That's the natural instinct. If you know you have evidence with you and you know they're coming after you, the natural instinct is to go make attempts to go and hide that evidence. So, and for the police or DSS to be after you, they must have been watching you for some time. So if the DSS knows that that's the natural thing you will do, then they have to look for a superior way to get it, because that's why they are DSS officials. That's why they're not FRSC or they're not last mile officials. They have intelligence and they should work with intelligence.
All right, thank you very much. It's something that a lot of Nigerians are going to be watching very closely. Obviously, the judiciary and the executive, as it is, are both on trial now, and we're going to be watching to see how the relationship continues to work, especially for Nigerians, because the judiciary, people have said for the longest time, is the last hope of the people, and if this shake-up is happening now. Nobody knows what next to expect. But thank you very much, Farouk, for being here today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Take a quick break now and be right back. Please stay with us.
So let's dance now, it is my turn. Just one